Huge shout out to our event sponsor Card Nexus. They've been incredible to work with. You guys know Spiritforged is now live on Card Nexus, so keep track and organize your new cards with Card Nexus. They've really been working super hard on trying to build a type of home for TCG players. They really trying to prioritize modern tools, but really no paywall whatsoever. So Card Nexus is 100% free. They help players and collectors manage their cards with features like smart bulk import, portfolio value with insights. As I mentioned before, you could kind of see the trends in your cards or your Spiritforged cards increasing in value because someone popped off with them in the regionals, or they kind of reducing them. You want to kind of catch wind of letting go of a card earlier. So I love that feature from Card Nexus. Of course, completion tracking for those that want to have a full complete set of each and every card in Spiritforged. And of course, speaking of new features, in just a couple weeks, they're going to be introducing a card scanner, an updated marketplace, and all included into a mobile app as well. And lastly, because as I mentioned before, Spiritforged just released yesterday, in order to celebrate, Card Nexus is doing a booster box giveaway. So those on YouTube, those on Twitch, you guys can type !Card Nexus, use that sign up link in the chat. And if you sign up before February 23rd, which is when the giveaway drawing will be happening, you guys will be entered into that Spiritforged booster box giveaway. So one more time, shout out to Card Nexus.
Looking forward or rooting for him here.
There we go. If you're rooting for Colin, I'll go ahead and root for tigerdeath. That way we have a little 1v1 rivalry in these grand finals. But Colin was our number one seed, or higher seed, I believe. So does get on the play first and pushing forward onto Reaver's Row. But the Wages of Pain will be the first card. And of course, reaction, speed, spinning, axe, nullifying that Wages of Pain, allowing him to conquer up to one. Feeling good about that. Who would have thought the spinning axe getting deployed out nice and early, but it seems to be very important to do so, as the Wages of Pain essentially gets brought out for nothing.
Yep, definitely don't hate it. And wow, okay, you were not kidding. This is a crazy Ezreal deck. All right, so there is the classic MF combo in Ezreal, huh? So you play the Pack of Wonders, you play the Treasure Trove, you get to bounce it, ramp one, and draw one. You can do this every turn.
Yeah, every single turn, and not just for the treasure trove as well. As I said before, he actually does it on his own units as well, like the Mind Splitters. But perhaps Mind Splitter is just one too little bit of a late game unit, as Colin is just all gas, no brakes coming out the gate there. Noxus Hopeful will be enabling him to get his third point of the match, while there's not even a single unit online. Of course, we do know that one huge impactful play, the Mind Splitter, does come down. But will it really pay that much off? Because you're not going to be accelerating a Watcher, or not a Watcher, but a Mind Splitter. So this is tricky, as Colin already off to the races, as we said, collecting his third point of the match.
Yeah, so this is a pretty important turn here. Curious on what he opts to do. This is the first turn you can drop the Mind Splitter, so if the Mind Splitter is that integral to the strategy, could see it as early as this turn. That being said, I don't really expect it. I would expect, like, yeah, maybe play out the pack combo, see more cards. You could play out the Ezreal this turn. I don't know how much repeat he's playing, but this would be an option here.
You know, I believe we did see something like a Frigid Touch. At the minimum, we have seen the call shots, so it does have to pay hard cost for the call shots. But it looks like he at the minimum had that seal to take it a bit more efficiently, of course, and a Singularity getting deployed out. That is the best play you can do on a tapped out Draven. You get rid of the overzealous fan, and more importantly, you get rid of the Draven and the spinning axe at that. So a bit more of a control style Ezreal, but little by little, the Draven is getting out of hand, going up to 4 points, while there's no board presence for the Ezreal. I was worried that perhaps the game we saw, it did benefit him because he was able to go the distance, but a deck that kind of pushes the pace, as we're seeing Colin do, it might be a harder task to accomplish. But we do see the all-important Mind Splitter and 2 Fighter Flights, a Hard Bargain, and a Thunder Song.
Yeah, I think you just rip the Thunder Song and say you have no units. Yeah, that's pretty annoying here. Honestly, I'm surprised with the cards in Colin's hand that he didn't retreat out the Noxus Hopeful, as there's not really too much that Ezreal has that immediately threatens the battlefields, and you can just double conquer again next turn, right? So what it just kind of puts it in danger for no reason, it feels like. But that being said, I mean, pretty clearly there's going to be no punish here, as the Mind Splitter is the play for turn. Opposite discard the Hard Bargain. Okay, that's interesting. I was under the impression that you might want to just keep Draven off of units, but maybe as like another singularity for the follow-up turn, that would be a pretty big reason to do this, as you do get to say, okay, I don't care if you play your other unit, I just want my singularity to resolve.
You know, and at the pace that Colin is playing, perhaps we might be able to squeeze in this whole grand finals before you have to hit the road. And let's see if it happens. But Colin not letting go, just pushing on forward. To your point, though, he does have one Thunder Song, so perhaps all this momentum will begin to slow down, and that could pave a path for Ezreal to kind of climb back into it. He already has one 7-mite unit developed on the board. He does have an overzealous fan, and funny enough, he doesn't want to hide his card. He's one of those players, he knows you know what's in hand, so why even take the extra steps, I guess, to hide the card? This is like a sign of a very confident player.
So, you know, it's so funny that I was saying that, and then I just noticed that that is Sigil, and it's not Obelisk. When I've made that mistake, I think 3 times today, where I've seen it, actually Ezreal's in particular, playing Sigil, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's just an Obelisk on the field, because there's so many decks playing Obelisk right now. I just default, I see the blue and I see the like spiky things, and I'm like, okay, it's an Obelisk. But no, that is a Sigil. And then in that case, it makes a ton of sense why he would keep the hopeful there. You just want to say, okay, I want to keep my unit there. I don't want to recycle the runes. So yep, makes sense. What is he going to do here, though, to clear out the units? I wouldn't be surprised to see like a singularity here.
Yeah, that has to be more so the better play. You do have a Mind Splitter to take care of that Noxus Hopeful. You don't want to give him the extra value for the Treasure Hunter, of course, but 6 runes available. As you mentioned, that is a bit of an ideal situation for the singularity, but you know the Hard Bargain is no longer in hand, so you feel comfortable letting that go here. There's only a Fight or Flight, a pair of Fight or Flights, and a Thunder Song, and a whole breadth of cards for Ezreal. That's 2, 4, 6. I mean, there's a number there, so 9 total cards. So there has to be a chance one of those cards is going to be an effective kill spell. At the minimum, you do have something like a Bellows Breath Repeat. No. That wouldn't kill. That would just kill one thing, so it doesn't make sense.
That would kill them both, right? You can kill the
the
fan plus the Treasure Hunter, and then you can shove in the Mind Splitter. And sure, you have to recycle a rune, but like whatever, that's fine. As long as you've cleaned up the board state, you're pretty fine with this. And hey, you called it. That's nice. Okay.
Not too bad. We saw the Bellows Breath before in the quarterfinals, so Bellows Breath will be impactful here in this grand finals, taking care of 2 units, one in the back line, one on Reaver's Road, before he's able to push back and get another gold resource. As we said, with just the current hand of Draven, if you play very carefully and you starve him of any card draw, I think Ezreal could try to make his trek back up on the winning seat. He has a really rough road to go through, though. That's 0 points up to 6, but he most likely will be able to get his first point of the game. With that said, though, there's 2 Fight or Flights, so perhaps he's not looking good to score his first point.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be just lam the Fight or Flight here and say, if I rip if he does rip any form of Accelerate, like the Kai'Sa's, or even like a Ride the Wind, the game's just over on the spot.
Frigid Touch into something like Wages of Pain might be that 1-2 punch to clear the Noxus Hopeful, make it even sweeter. The Bellows Breath one more time, bringing it down to 0 HP. Down the Noxus Hopeful goes, because, you know, even if you didn't draw Accelerated, that was actually awfully close to winning the game. You Fight or Flight your own Noxus Hopeful, and then you push over to Reaver's Road. So he needed that play for the survivability of this game number 1. Now he definitely needs something like an accelerated Kai'Sa. And oh my goodness, the fortunate draws coming out from Colin.
Yeah, I mean, might be, I'm not going to say a little too late, but it is a very good card here. It allows you to see another card, and now this does make things a little bit more complex too, as you have to deal with both the Kai'Sa on the Reavers and the there is an unknown card now in the works, because before the Ezreal did have full knowledge, as the Kai'Sa was the only unknown. Wow, okay, this definitely makes it harder. Now you do need an actual removal spell here.
And he hid the card just to have it at reaction speed. I love this place because you know your opponent knows it's a fight or flight, but making it just that much more difficult. Can a overzealous fan and a fight or flight get the job done? That's 2 pushbacks on 2 units. You know the Ezreal alone can't do it, so you have to rely on the back of that Mind Splitter. Can a Mind Splitter alone? I mean, what can he have in hand? A Singularity definitely does the job. It doesn't matter if you fight or flight any of these units. That is 1-2 going down. So that's probably the most optimal play he can have in the situation. He already played 2 Bellows Breath, so most likely he doesn't have a third one in hand. What other cards can potentially help out Ezreal in this situation?
A Rebuke would do it too, right? You can go Rebuke the Kai'Sa and then shove up the Ezreal, and then they fight or flight it, and then you just shove up like the Mind Splitter. That being said, like it does leave you get a draw off of the first lost combat for Colin. So Colin is going to see more cards here, and he does have 3 runes up. So it is very possible to just randomly draw into like an axe or something that changes things. And so yeah, so Fizz maybe going to repeat like a Bellows here. Yeah.
Bellows Breath does get repeated, so doing 2 damage a piece. So Overzealous should be going down, because even if you retreat it, actually you can fight or flight, because Bellows Breath only targets the units at a single location, and he chose that location to be Reaver's Row. So do you want to save the Zon Warrants, perhaps or save the Kai'Sa is obviously actually this is tricky here, because I think he's just trying to do damage on the Kai'Sa, but he could have something like Wages of Pain to completely close things out, but then that's where you would use your fight or flight to save the Kai'Sa. So these are trickier plays.
Yeah, and there's a pack as well, right? So the Fizz, I want to say costs 3, right? Or is it 4? I can't. It's 3, right?
Which one?
Fizz, right?
Fizz is 3 might, yeah.
Yeah, so you can bounce the Fizz, which is kind of funny for the follow-up play.
Right. Yeah, it's probably a double Fizz, double Bellows Breath, right?
Yeah, so looks like the fight or flight is being used, so the good call out there, opting to save the Kai'Sa.
And as chat pointed out, it doesn't specifically target locations, so after the reaction speed gets applied, you're able to decide which side you want to do the damage on. And the Pack of Wonders, as you mentioned, NA, brings the Fizz back, but instead this time will be the Frigid Touch to take that Kai'Sa down. It looks like the obvious target was the Bellows. Wait a second.
Did he misclick the Frigid, maybe?
I think he did 2 damage on Kai'Sa and then Frigid Touch to bring it down into the range of dying. So it does get brought down. Nice. And now Overzealous can't really protect itself unless you're going to hold from Reaver's Row. And can he get fortunate for another accelerated option? I think his options are running all but dry. You could get lucky one time, but I don't think it's enough to take down a 7 might unit like a Mind Splitter. So perhaps this is the moment of truth for this Ezreal. I say this, but there's so much catch up to do that if Draven could kind of just sit back, draw unit after unit after unit, you have at least 2 or 3, 5, 7. You have at least 3 turns to put some units on the board and then push forward to try to double conquer on your own turn.
Yeah, he does have plenty of time here, plenty of time to build up units to think here. So okay, so if he does have he doesn't. I was gonna say if he did have the Kai'Sa plus like a fight or flight or a rebuke, that is game, right?
Did he just top deck another Kai'Sa?
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible stuff for the side of Colin. Picking up 2 cards, one for being at 7, one for the Survivor ability, and the Falling Star taking out Fizz, taking out the Ezreal, leaving behind the lonely Mind Splitter. But it should be clearly enough with that 7 might. But all you need to do is hold with the Kai'Sa. Can she hold on with this Overzealous fan? I think with as much kill potential as Ezreal has, it's very unlikely that Battlefield's going to hold, but you never know. You could have all these hand, but just not the picture perfect cards you need to take down that left side Battlefield. Let's see what he has there, because Ezreal little by little trying to climb back into this game.
He whiffed blue. That means no singularity. It's not an option here.
Yeah, very true. There's no such thing as any gold tokens generated. All the seals are sealed to Discord, so they will be those purple ones. So it doesn't have the clean answer in that singularity. But we saw other ways around it. How many Bellows Breaths are in the discard now? Or in the trash? One. Oh, wow. It was just all on the back of the fizz. So could have... Or how many fizzes are in there? One. Okay, just a single fizz. So could have access to another singular... Or another... Bellows Breath, or perhaps another fizz too.
Well, can he? Because he has. Don't you still have to pay the power cost off of fizz, right? And if you want to repeat it, then you'd have to pay 2 blue.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Ezreals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, so couldn't even Bellows Breath it. Might have to rely on something like a Stupefy, Wages of Pain, but then you only get rid of 1 unit. Is this where Draven just runs away with the game? A fizz off the top of the hand. Let's see what's going to be the spell to bring back. It has to be 3 or less. It will be a Wages of Pain. But more importantly, how are you doing your final... Actually, Pack of Wonders fizz one more time. The synergy in this deck is astronomical. Pack of Wonders seems to be the glue that puts it all together. We get the Mind Splitters back. We get the fizzes back to get the Wages of Pain. Let me see real quick. I think fizz says banish the card, though. Recycle the spell after you play it. Okay, that's the big caveat there. You can't just keep recurring fizz.
So now the rebuke coming down. So did actually have the answers here. Very cool. So survives another turn, and there is the fizz in the base now. So you are kind of set up to... Oh, okay. And shoving right up. What could he have drawn for turn? Surely not another Kaisa. Absolutely not.
No, no, I would doubt it. That's 2 Kaisers off the top. Very unlikely. But he did see 3 new cards. 1 for turn, 1 for being at 7. And 1 maybe a turn I didn't account for. But does have 8. Something like a Darius could be likely. But trying to hold it down. We know the... Oh, that's what it was. The Overzealous Fan is indeed in a retreat in a reaction to the Brynir Thundersong activation, funny enough.
Yep. Because it is a mandatory trigger, so you are able to react here, and this does allow him to channel the rune, and he was probably going to bounce the fizz anyway with the pack to copy another spell, so not too shabby there. There is a rebuke in the discard, as that was paid the last turn, so definitely know there's access to it. At the very least, a rebuke off of the fizz, which will clear 1 unit, and you just need to find a way to clear the other unit. I don't know. I don't fully remember the trash, but the fizz can be played twice, right, with the pack. So if there are 2 ways to remove units in there, there is enough to clear it out.
Yeah, the bare minimum, there is going to be a Bellows Breath in the trash as well as a rebuke, but you do have to take care of 2 units as you mentioned. So seal for seal looks like. Oh, the singularity making it rather straightforward, taking down both of these units. What's going to be the hidden card? I don't think it matters too much, as singularity does not specify where you have to be. It doesn't matter whether you're on the battlefield or the base. Both of those will be going down. The Tide Turner swapping positions, but it doesn't really matter. It's just going to be the exact same might on that battlefield. I don't think Ezreal, it will be running out of options. It's almost like Draven, interesting enough, looking to top deck each and every turn. Can he top deck something like a Darius into a Spinning Axe? Might be the only out available to him. Darius, and then play the Spinning Axe, ready the Darius, and swing in for 10. It could be the only way. Perhaps a little far-fetched, but you never know. We're trying to think of some outs here.
I'm sure I'm missing this. How is he clearing the Tide Turner?
Oh, you're so right. Wait a second. There is a little tie turner,
Oh,
and that is GG.
oh
Colin will be
no.
getting game number 1. Well played.
Thank you, Card Nexus, for letting us do this awesome tournament. And it looks like diving right into this game off to a fast start, the Aspirant's Peak. And this time it is the Obelisk. I promise. This time it is the Obelisk. I'm not messing up this time.
Yeah, it's a little brighter blue, right? So it is the opposite power, but Colin will be up 1 game as we stated before, just getting off to the races one too many fast, and we saw how impactful the Pharaoh's Forerunner was before in that previous matchup against Prismaticism. Will it pose the similar threat? Because now if you singularity the Forerunner, 2 little mechs pop out. I guess your only bit of a saving grace will be the rebukes that we saw come into play in that game number 1. But let's see what kind of hits will be off the top. We don't literally get to see them, of course, as everything's hidden information. But the Pack of Wonders goes ahead and establishes as early as that 3rd turn, followed up by the Treasure Trove. So the good old MF combo, as you pointed out before, allowing him to keep the hand card advantage almost as long as possible, really.
Yeah, I mean, able to really find a lot of stuff here, and there actually opts to pop the pack, which ends up just being a cycle 1, but I definitely got the value out of it already. And later in the game, you'd prefer, like we saw, to use the pack on like the Fizz, loop the Fizzes, loop the Mind Splitter, which he unfortunately wasn't able to do last game, as he was kind of on the back foot. It was a very, very close one where he's like, I have to remove 2 units every single turn. And Colin's like, aha, well, guess what? I drew 2 more units, so remove 2 more units.
Oh, what the counterplay is this? The Thermo Beam eliminating that game plan. The Pack of Wonders, it was incredibly pivotal to make sure everything is set up. The Mind Splitter, the Fizz is coming back to hand, and of course the Treasure Trove no longer with us. Of course, there could be more Pack of Wonders in the deck, but if he doesn't have any in hand, that Thermo Beam, though it was kind of expensive, it might have paid very well because you get rid of 2 seals as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, the seals are pretty important cards. As you saw, they got used every single turn of the game last game. And I think he ended the game with all 3 of them, right? Was it, am I mistaken? Yeah, so those are cards that give a lot of a lot of power over the course of the game. So losing them this early is going to really hurt.
Yeah, especially when you still have a whole lot more call shots, a whole lot more fizzes to play down the road. Luckily, you're able to put a point on the board sooner than you did on that first game. So realizing perhaps, navigating into the late game wasn't too advantageous. So trying to go a little bit more speedier than before. The Treasure Trove without the Pack of Wonders does get played out. Doesn't decide to proc it just yet, saving it for down the road. But the Pharaoh's Forerunner does have Draven going up to 3 points. Now with 7 energy, imagine a world where we get a Mind Splitter of Draven's own. That would be quite amazing. We have seen some Mind Splitters, especially when we're talking about decks that also run Pharaoh's Forerunner, but I don't know if Colin's running it like we've seen in some of those Chinese events.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a huge fan of it in this matchup anyway, as the problem is, you are on point today, Plus.
Right. Almost like I can see the cards, but I promise, guys, I'm just trying to take into account the rune, and we're just taking a guess, and it will be the Mind Splitter. What does he have under the hood? What are we taking out here, Ine?
Probably the Fizz, right?
I think so.
It's either the Fizz or the Watcher, and as we saw in the last game, the Fizz got an insane amount of value. So I'm either saying, hey, I'm going to take out the Fizz because it's hard for you to recur this unit, and you probably only play 2 of them at most. So you have to find another one, or you take out the Watcher, and that kind of eliminates any sort of late game push, and it combos with the Chilling Touch, it combos with the Wages. It's like a pretty good removal card. So I probably think I'm hitting the Fizz here, but we will have to see what Colin chooses. What I was saying is that I don't like it too much because it feels like when you use Mind Splitter into these decks that cycle so much, there just aren't a lot of good cards that hit. Sorry, there are a lot of good cards that hit, but they're all in the hand at once. So you
Right.
just look at the hand and you're like, okay, there are 4 cards I want to discard here, and they all kind of are interchangeable. But in this case, there were really only 2 options, right? So it was actually a pretty good mind splitter.
Yeah, I think that was a brilliant mind splitter and trying to pay it forward, saying you can play, two can play at this game. But the only thing I will counter for the Fizz there is that there's no longer a pack of wonders, but I think one Fizz is sufficient enough to get some value, and immediately taking the one of the only units available to Draven. And look at that, where there was one Thermal Beam hides another one. Thermal Beam, Rebuke, and a Tide Turner will be the final remaining cards. Luckily, he has some decent amount of board presence, the Forerunner, the Mind Splitter, and the Hopeful, because if that was his only available cards in hand, this might just be an easy GG for Ezreal. But of course, the picture's a bit different considering the fact that all those units, you're most likely will be able to conquer up to 5 total points. Unless you want to play on that even tempo, I wouldn't. Actually, it is Aspirant Climb. That is the tempo you want to play at. So 5 seems to be the best thing you can do this turn. Do you feel like you can get punished with at least just one Rebuke in hand? I mean, you're never too scared with a Forerunner, are you?
Yeah, I mean, it is a powerful card. Definitely pretty good into this removal style Ezreal deck, as it's pretty guaranteed the generated advantage, especially now that the Fizz is gone and we can no longer just like loop rebukes and such. You are forced to actually remove it the hard way. And I will say, Ezreal is looking better than I thought it would after that Thermal Beam and the losing all the seals. So, not in the worst spot. The hand is not promising though. Don't really have any follow up besides the you have 1 unit left, so you're really reliant on keeping what you have. And I mean, admittedly, the Draven doesn't have a lot going on either, but Draven is going to generate draws through just playing the game, right? So
Yeah, as long as Ezreal allows him to, though, because as we've seen, a lot of high-level players are pretty much keeping those combats to very selective moments, and moments you have to at moments that you pretty much have to do it, right? So I think that it is going to be a tricky situation, but Draven slash Colin will be going up to 4 points. As we said before, it should be very likely for him to push forward that Noxus Hopeful, going up to that 5 point, looking like 3 more points or 4 more points, aka 2 more turns of conquering twice, and just great hits off the top. The Ferris Forerunner will be one of those, and 2 Ferris Forerunners without any rebukes in hand, unless that one pickup will be the rebuke, feels immensely strong.
yeah, definitely not a spot I want to be in. Let's see. So Malzahar here opting to kill the Trove. This is a ramp and a draw here.
As well as getting 2 power and using those exact 2 powers in the mana pool or in the room pool to deploy out a repeated call shot. We've never used call shot quite like this. The Malzahar showing what he's made of, because not only can you get it with the Ezreal, even if you needed the 2 power. So I think he's only using 1 power of the 2 power currently in the room pool. So something to keep in mind of.
Yeah, it can be sometimes a little bit hard to keep track of all this floating energy and runes, which in person I feel it's actually a little bit easier, right? Because in person you can use like dice and stuff, but like where are you just putting the dice on the board on the board in this? So
Right.
something to keep in mind when
But
you
that
are
was the
playing
one thing
online.
about tabletop. You could easily, I think there's a dice, but it only literally spins or rolls the dice for you. It doesn't actually come into play. But the mech, or not the mech, actually we do see the 2 mechs coming down as the Forerunner gets defeated, allowing tigerdeath to go up to 3 points, but somehow it just doesn't feel like enough with a whole lot of combat tricks. A Watcher. Watcher's one of those cards that you play when you're slightly ahead, when you're trying to make a big comeback or close things out. If Draven tries to play patiently and there's no world like a Bellows Breath in sight for Ezreal, I think he's looking good so far. We'll see though. I mean, it's funny that these players are playing with all hand knowledge except those 3 cards, right? It's almost like I flipped a switch and let the reveal cards play out.
It's crazy, right? That the game is just so complex and there's so much thinking you have to do here that despite having all this knowledge, like there's still a lot of really crazy decisions to make. So I mean, it's impressive to me. And the second Mind Splitter, okay, I can't say it. The second Mind Splitter has been played and does Rip the Rebuke, which is pretty powerful card there for Colin. So, I mean, things looking good for Ezreal here. And I thought it was off to a really rough start with the Thermo Beam.
I believe so, right? When we're talking about taking care of 2 seals on top of the Pack of Wonders, you thought it was all but over, but there was just so much Riftbound left to be played. And now, as you mentioned, the Rebuke getting ripped from the hand, leaving behind a Thermo Beam that gets no value, a Tide Turner almost gets no value. He's just forced to play with the cards currently on board, which, to be fair, they're not the worst cards. You still have a 7 might unit. You have enough might to take down the Aspirant Climb. But we literally see the cards in hand. A Wages of Pain gets hidden, as well as a Frigid Touch will be able to be repeated because of the Ezreal. Even without the Ezreal, you have 4 runes available. So things like Frigid Touch plus a Factory Recall in case something like a Spinning Axe comes down. He has all the tools in that toolbox to make sure he holds up to 4 points. But perhaps he's just looking to stage a defensive type win. You hold to 7 and then you hold up to 8, but you still need that 1 more point because of Aspirant Climb. So perhaps Ezreal is feeling better and better after each turn.
I mean, it still hasn't had to commit the Watcher from hand either. So any push that Colin makes is going to be met with a Watcher, which feels pretty bad.
It really does. It doesn't feel like you're able to set up a board presence or a battlefield presence, I should say, on either of these. I mean, more than likely, obviously, the opposite power since he already controls it. But as you mentioned, there's just no good situation. The Tide Turner does get played out. Swaps positions. Okay, he swaps positions, then moves on forward. He's going for the Conquer NA. He's ambitiously pushing every single unit over to Aspirant Climb. He's saying, do your worst. I know what's in hand, and I'll let you do the math. I think he already did the math, but let's see. Wages of Pain takes out a mech. Frigid Touch brings things down by 4. So that's 3, 6, 9, 11, 4... So 15 total might if I did the quick maths right. 15 of 14 it looks like.
Yeah, I think you're right. And this does get these Mind Splitters out of rotation too, so you can't like rip into a pack and then get one back and play it again. So I don't know if he's playing the triple Mind Splitter, which the way you describe the deck makes me think he probably is.
Right.
So there potentially is one more Mind Splitter. The Watcher in hand that we do know of this is pretty important that he does get this Conquer. If he does get the Conquer, as it, and I imagine he is, unless something egregiously that I'm missing, but yep, does get the Conquer here. This does put him up to 7, which is pretty important here, as this is 1 turn away from winning, right?
Yeah, you're totally right. 1 more turn, a double hold, double conquer is exactly what he needs. But we've said it before, there's that minimum of Watcher in hand, so you're very easily able to take down one of these battlefields, with the big caveat being the Ferris Forerunner will be developing 2 mechs in the back line. It all comes down to, can he draw enough of a might increase, things like Spinning Axe, perhaps just pure combat tricks in themselves like a Rebuke / Fight or Flight to push back, because I would imagine Ezreal has no other option but to play into Draven's game. You have to set up some kind of presence on one of these battlefields. If not, it's going to be a simple hold or nonetheless a 1-2 push to conquer. So you have Malzahar, you have Ezreal, you want those units to stay in the back line, but you probably have no other option. As we're seeing here, he has to take care of one of these battlefields and perhaps looking to take care of the other one with the Watcher, I would imagine.
I feel like if you were going to do that, you'd commit the Watcher first, because there's really no downside. Yeah, so instead opting to go for a Singularity, and you still just get to hold the Watcher for infinity. So representing that threat just for the rest of the game, which is, I mean, you love to see it. Does get the mechs coming out here, which makes me wonder if there is another Singularity to clear out the mechs too, and then just put the Draven on no cards, or on no units.
Uh-oh, as one of
Maybe a
those three
Bellows.
hidden cards will be something like a Bellows Breath. He's Frigid
Yep.
Touch, bringing them down to 1 might apiece. Bellows Breath does indeed come down, effectively removing every single board unit, every single unit on board. The Spinning Axe, a bit of a saving grace on one of those, because I think they go up to 3. You didn't repeat it, right? I don't believe you repeated it, but oh my goodness, just having all the answers. Couldn't you have actually? I think Factory Recall is an action, so yeah, you couldn't react to that.
Yeah, but it doesn't actually matter that you can't react, right? Because you can just do it after it resolves, right? And the damage is still there, so it would die. But acceptable losses was known, so maybe Colin just accepting the losses,
Right.
saying that he was gonna like it doesn't matter, it's fine. And I mean Darius, you know what? If any of those units had lived, that Darius was a very good draw.
Yeah. And it's still a fantastic card off the top. As we saw, Thermal Beam was most likely the last card remaining, allowing the Darius come up to 8. We do know the Watcher can indeed come down, but can Draven still end up taking this from Ezreal? Because you're at 8 point. All Draven has to do is either hold/conquer one turn. Watcher has a tough time maneuvering his way over to the Aspirant Climb. If you're able to set up some kind of presence on the Aspirant Climb, we do have an Overzealous Fan. An Overzealous Fan and a unit might just be enough. I mean, it all depends what these 3 hidden cards are in the hand for Ezreal. But if there's something like just units, of course, maybe a Mind Splitter at this is a little bit too late. But he needs something like a Rebuke, a Fight or Flight to push the Overzealous back. If not, Draven is looking like he might be able to hold with a simple Overzealous Fan on top of another unit, it feels like.
Right, that is not a unit, but that is maybe better than a unit at this point, as Colin is on 10 runes. So seeing more cards is probably better here than just having a random unit. So hopefully is able to find something good here. As like you said, pushing up the Overzealous Fan, getting another draw because he is at 8 points, and then being able to potentially play out a couple units to that battlefield sounds pretty powerful. But oh my gosh, that is a good one.
Yeah, Mind Splitter off the stack deck, feeling
Wow.
great. Now taking or having the option of taking out the Rebuke. So he did have the counterplay capability, not direct counterplay, but the combat trick capabilities. Rebuke would have been able to take care of either of those units, but the Fizz does go back or does go into the trash, so not allowing him to pick anything up. And does that mean he has to hit a unit off? Actually, what are his outs here? Is the Overzealous Fan? Actually, you have at minimum a Rebuke, which makes me question, NA, why didn't he push and then play the Mind Splitter into Aspirant Climb? Is that just hindsight being 2020?
Maybe he was afraid of like a Bellows or something. I'm not quite sure. I think it's been a long day for me. I can't think over all the options, but I imagine the idea is he's like a little bit afraid of his unit just getting cleared, so opting to instead play the Mind Splitter first and check that hand. But I agree. In fact, I think that would be just game, right? If he had gone the other way around, is you go that, you push up the Mind Splitter or you play the Mind Splitter to it, and then you go, okay, this is bad. But that being said, I mean, you still kind of have the setup, right? Like, yeah, this doesn't do anything. Is going to get to see another card here. What could this mystery card be?
If it's not a unit, it could very well be all but over, because it is a Bellows Breath. You're at the minimum able to take care of one of those units, so Overzealous Fan gonna be hitting that trash bin, but you still have that 7 might unit and you only have 5 runes available, so unless it's a repeated Frigid Touch, actually that doesn't do it because it's -4. So here we go. These guys are so neck and neck, but Colin on the cuffs are trying to be crowned our first ever 1K Cash Cup champion. Can he hold all the way into victory? These are the moments I live for. I love seeing these guys go back and forth. The stack deck is a beautiful pickup off the top. Does he deploy another unit? Because if there's something like, Ah, I don't see a out. I was gonna say something like a singularity and a double stack deck, and I
Another
think
one.
he's seeing what he wants. It might just be another mind splitter. Imagine a world that comes true.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of cards this see. Surely he has more, because all you need to do is put just a couple units on this Mind Splitter. Yeah, oh my gosh, that is a good one. Does he have more? Okay, just passing it over. So, I mean, it's pretty rough here. What are the outs? I mean, stack deck's a good start. Get to see more cards. Maybe another Watcher is an option.
And I'm seeing a bit of a grin on Colin's face cam. I feel like he thinks he has it in the bag, and I do not blame him. I would be pretty ecstatic about this position. You were moments away from locking in the 50% of the today's prize pool. Feeling good, feeling comfortable. It all comes down. What are these final two hitting cards? And an arcane shift.
Wow,
Wait a minute. That's gonna be able to
that's a
take care of
really
at
good one.
least, yeah, you do 3 damage on top of bringing everything down by 3. And can't you accelerate the Watcher as well?
I believe that's how that works. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can just accelerate it and then push it up, right?
Yeah, because you can play it in base, a banish friendly unit, then the owner plays it out, accelerate. Wait a minute, I see the
Wow,
grin coming off of Colin's face,
that was an
sends everything
insane
into
draw.
aspirin climb, but the rebuke
Yes, the review.
completely changing the game plan, and
Oh
Colin
my
knowing he had
god.
it all but locked in. There is nothing he can do. Draven just a bit too
Wow.
strong in Spiritforge.
What a crazy sequence of events. I didn't even see that. I was like, I think that is that Arcane Shift the game? And no, the rebuke, Colin played it so close to the chest. That was one of the draws. One of
Yeah.
the draws from the last 2 turns. I mean, you cannot complain there.
Incredible stuff from both of these players. You can truly see why they are in these grand finals position. Amazing plays coming out from Ezreal, and incredible stuff for Draven as well. Realizing from the previous rounds, or just understanding this matchup in general, he had to keep pushing each and every turn, conquer as often as you can. When he got up to 5 points, I think things really started favoring him to close things out, and just fortunate draws like the Mind Splitter. I keep saying fortunate draws, but it's just a good deck. When we're talking about Fury, when we're talking about Chaos, there's just nothing but good cards. Ever since the back-breaking Thermo Beam as early as, I think, second or third turn, things started really going in the favor of Colin, and I believe that is GG, as both of these players aren't moving. Okay, there he is. Oh no, he's
And
drawing
we're
his
just
deck.
drawing cards.
Guys, that
Where are
will
my
be
outs?
the conclusion of today's event.